Hey guys, long time no talk, like seriously. I was looking back on my 2024 season and I realized that the last time I talked to you guys was in May and I only released 8 episodes last year. And in 2023, I kind of blamed the lack of episodes on the fact that we were planning a wedding and I was just so busy. And then going into 2024, like I had it in my heart that I was going to stick to a schedule and I was going to upload stuff for you guys because I love podcasting. I love talking about mental health with you guys and sharing personal stories and doing the interviews. But I just don't know planning wise if I set up myself to succeed. I think for a lot of it, I put a lot of pressure on myself to be perfect and have episodes out on time. And I really didn't, set up a schedule that worked for me. And I feel really bad because I know that there are a lot of you that are getting what you need from these episodes and you like listening to them. And I apologize for that. So going into this year, I told myself we are going to change that. We are going to get back into podcasting and we are going to make it one of our focuses for this year. Now, you might be wondering, well, we haven't seen you since May of last year, so what happened to you during 2024? And I can say that in the last 7 months of 2024, a lot happened to me and it put me in, a headspace that I knew I could not come and be 100% myself for you guys and show up the way I wanted to because personally I was going through a lot. So let's look back on what happened. So after my last episode in May, in June, we were going and dealing with fertility issues, and then we were meeting with doctors and I was getting on medication. If you follow me on my vlog channel, you will see more of that. And if you're interested in that, I will link that series for you guys to go see. But I kind of talked on there about what we were going through and going to the doctor and getting on medication and trying to start a family. It was rough trying to start a family for 6 months and nothing happening, and finding out that, due to personal issues with how my period is, that it was going to be difficult. So of course we got on medication, and then June comes around, and after I think it was like a second round of medication, we got pregnant. And we were so happy, and I was so happy about that. And by the time I found out I was pregnant, I was, already a month in. And then a week after that, 5 weeks in, we lost our first child. And the amount of emotions I felt was overwhelming, and I at times was very unstable. And the thing that happened is we had planned a trip to Vegas, and we went to Vegas and we celebrated our honeymoon because we didn't go on a honeymoon right directly after we got married. So we were there for a week. It was really nice and it was a distraction for both of us. And then when we came home, I had to face reality, and I laid in bed for a whole week. I was very depressed, like I said, emotionally unstable, dealing with loss and grief because I have never experienced anything like that, or that sense of grief of losing somebody I didn't know really. But to me that was, already a baby. And we aren't sure, if the heartbeat didn't start beating or, if there was an extra chromosome. We will never know. But I think just going through that, it was very, very rough. So, July, August, I went through, and even into September, I went through emotionally going through that and figuring out how to cope with that. And I think one of the biggest things that helped is I talked about it a lot and I cried a lot, and I just knew that I could not produce episodes and create content for you guys when I was going through it myself. And I'm not going to talk too much about it. If you are interested in episodes about miscarriages and loss and kind of all of that. I will definitely make episodes for you for that. Just let me know. But right now I'm just kind of keeping it brief. And in September, we decided that I was in the right place, in the right mindset, where we could start trying again. And even though I was still struggling, we were like, we do want to start a family, we can start trying again and see what happens. And in October, I decided to go back to work because being at home during that time was rough. I had a lot of time to think and be by myself. And even on the vlogging side of things, it was really hard to create vlogs and act like everything was okay when I was going through such a rough time. And I even made a vlog about our miscarriage, and I talked about it in vlogs, and I let people know what I was going through, because sometimes I just like being an open book, because I feel like you can connect with your audience more that way. So, I decided in the beginning of October, I am going back to work full time because I need to just get out of the house and have my mind busy with other things so I'm not always in my own head. And then about, let's say, I think it was like a week or two into going back to work, I found out I'm pregnant again. So I think I'm trying to control my emotions again with the loss of our first child and it being 3 months out, and now I'm pregnant again, and now I'm excited, but I'm still mourning the loss of our first child. So again, so many emotions going through that. And again, if you guys would like me to do an episode about that, I can absolutely do that as well. But like I said, I think that I was like, from June till December, I went through a lot. And I did a lot of personal growth in that 7 last months, because I had been through something that was tragic, and grief and loss, and trying to figure out how to keep moving forward when you didn't necessarily feel like moving forward. Like, I would have much rather just stayed in bed and cried and not tried to get myself going and getting back to a normal life. But I think that I allowed myself that time to grieve. And whatever amount of time that looks for anybody in a grieving, process is different. But I allowed myself to have like almost a full month where I just grieved, and I let myself feel the feelings, and I didn't push myself, past that, or I need to get better. And my husband too, he never was like, oh, you need to get better, or you need to feel better, or why aren't you feeling better? He let me kind of just go through the process. And I did, at some point realize like, okay, I need to start getting back into a normal routine and getting my mind off of things and kind of just trying to get past it. And I think for me that I really learned is, even now, being in my second trimester of pregnancy with our second child, I still think about our first child, and I'm still going through sometimes that grieving process, because I would have been in my third trimester with our first child. They would have been born in March, and that just makes you go through a lot of thoughts. And I am grateful to be pregnant right now. I am grateful to be experiencing a new side of pregnancy I never got to experience. But like I said, it was a lot. And I just knew that I would not be able to come on here and talk to you guys and talk about things and produce content when for myself I was going through such a rough time. And I feel like now, going into 2025, I'm in a better place, and I really want to make this podcast what in my mind, the vision that I have. And I think one of the things that I'm not going to do this year is put so much pressure on myself. I was like, I need to get an episode out every week, and I think that was a lot. So for me, I think, 1 episode a month, or 2 episodes a month, like bi-weekly, might work better for me, because I feel like then I'm able to get across what I want to talk to you guys about in a better manner. So for this year, that's kind of my goal is to get episodes out and have them be, those episodes that I really want you guys to hear. And my plan for this podcast has always been the same thing, is that I want to educate you on mental health illness and have, those educational episodes where we're learning stuff together. I want to continuously share personal stories with you guys about, how I struggle with mental health and how it is for me and how I, go through life and the things that help me, because I feel like you need to be able to connect with someone on that level to know and to feel like you're not alone. And I've always loved doing those inspirational episodes where we kind of just talk about how to get through the day and be proud of yourself for where you are and to keep going, because I just absolutely love that. And one of my biggest, visions for this podcast eventually in the future is to do more interviews and for people to share their stories with mental health. That's one of my biggest visions and dreams for this podcast, is for people to come on and share their story and be comfortable with sharing their story. And I think it's another way for people, again, to feel not so alone, because you have people that are like, I'm dealing with this and this is how life looks, but this is what I'm doing for myself to keep going. And I think that's always so important to me. And another side of that is I would love to get into, sharing stories about the ones that are no longer here with us. Either people reaching out and wanting to share stories of their loved ones who have gone away too soon, or me reaching out to them and saying, hey, I heard your story about, your loved one, and I would love to talk about them on my podcast and share their story. If you don't feel comfortable sharing it, I would love to know and talk to you guys and get more information to share their stories. Because again, I think it's important to not only share the stories of the people that are here, but it's also important to share the stories of the ones that aren't with us anymore, because we need to keep their, stories alive and their lives alive to show that, they did the best they could with what they had. And sometimes things can get very hard and very difficult, and people feel like they have no other choice but to leave us too soon. But I want to share those stories because, again, I think it's important to know that they tried their best and they did their best and they did whatever they could with whatever tools were in their boxes for them. And that's just important for me. That has always been my goal for this podcast, is eventually to share people's stories and for people to come on and share their stories, because I just love having that conversation with people about mental health. And again, I think it shines a light for people who, again, think that they are struggling alone, to show you aren't. There are people that you could reach out to afterwards and say, your story inspired me to get help, or your story inspired me to share more about that with my family and my friends and with my online community, like whatever it is. I just always want them to be a type of inspiration for everybody who's struggling with mental health. And something else I, just want to ask you guys too is, going into this year, if you have a topic that you want me to address or to talk about, or there's something specifically you're like, I wish I could hear somebody's side on this certain thing, please let me know, because I would love to be able to connect with you guys more and to be able to talk about the things that impact you, that might be impacting me, that I don't know you want to hear about. Like, what are things that you guys see or hear about or talk about that you want me to share, my side, or talk about for you guys? And, again, have those topics, any topic that you guys want me to discuss and address, let me know, because again, that's another way to connect with you guys, to know what you want to hear and what you're liking. And, going forward, I want more of that from this community, is just to be able to connect more with you guys. And lastly, before I leave you, I just want to say thank you for continuously listening during those 7 months of 2024, we hit 1,000 listens in that amount of months, and I had no new episodes. And it was so heartwarming and so surprising sometimes to me that I would go on just to check to see if I had new people listening or if I had more plays. And to end the year with hitting 1,000 listens and knowing that I have people that are finding my podcast and listening to my podcast and I'm not even producing anything, just was like, I'm so grateful and so blessed for everybody who did that. Because, everything that I was going through, I still thought about this podcast and what I have for, again, the vision of this and what I have in my heart. And knowing that I couldn't do that just made me really sad. But again, knowing that you guys were still out there listening and maybe sharing and, doing what you guys were doing to support me still during that time when nothing was coming out is absolutely amazing. So I have big plans for 2025. Coming back to this podcast is a big one for me, and I cannot wait to share new episodes with you guys and connect with you guys and grow even more. I think starting out is just going to be a lot of solo episodes, and then getting back into interviews and sharing people's stories is going to be, again, one of my biggest goals. And if you're somebody who struggles with mental health and you love my episodes and you would love to be on my show, please reach out and let me know. You can find me on Instagram under Deloris June and just reach out to me. Again, I think reach out to me on Instagram with the topics that you want to hear and episodes you like and things you want me to talk about more, and just connect with me more, because that's something I would love to, grow as a community here and connect more. And as you can tell, this episode did not have a beginning or an end. I think I'm going to try to revamp that part as well. Not sure about the graphic art because I kind of like the cover for what I made for this podcast, but I might be doing that too. But I'm excited to connect with you guys again. I'm excited to create episodes, and I cannot wait to share them with you guys, and I'm excited to be back. So, this is kind of like a confessions of mental health about what happened to me in 2024 and where I've been. And I just wanted to share that with you guys just in case you were wondering. So again, thank you for everybody who has followed, subscribed, been here over the last 7 months, who's listened to episodes, who continue to listen to episodes. I am so thankful for you guys, and I can't wait to create new episodes for you guys and see where I can take this podcast. So I just want to leave you with is, if no one's told you today, I am proud of you, and I know you are doing your best, and all you got to do is keep your head up, and if you have to cry, cry. But keep moving forward, because you are worth it, and your life is worth it, and there are so many beautiful things for you to be able to do in this life. We just got to get over that hump and keep moving forward.